How do you bring scientific discovery into everyday life on a global scale? And what happens when a company like Unilever, with a presence in nearly every home, when they apply AI to redefine what we expect from everything from shampoo to dish soap and everything in between? Well, today I'm joined by the Head of Digital and Partnerships for Unilever's R&D division. And I want to get a little glimpse behind the curtain as to how a company the size of Unilever innovates, leverages technology, especially AI. And with a portfolio of over 400 AI-driven projects across microbiome science, biotechnology and next-generation materials, Unilever is rewriting the rules for product innovation. But this isn't about futuristic lab experiments. It's actually about how they transform items that is used by billions and making them more smarter, more sustainable and more effective. All by using not just the power of AI, the power of data, machine learning and a deeper understanding of human biology. So today my guest is going to walk us through how Unilever's AI applications are unlocking new insights in the human biome, how they're reshaping ingredient design through biotechnology, and how they're driving forward materials innovation that is already on store shelves. But you probably don't think about the technology that's made many of those products possible. From personalised skincare based on microbiome analysis to laundry detergents that perform in 15-minute wash cycles. The pace and scope of transformation that is already surrounding our everyday lives is quite staggering. So, what does it take to scale scientific breakthroughs across global product lines while also balancing sustainability, performance and consumer trust? And it's on that note that I think it's time for me to officially introduce you to today's guest. So, a massive warm welcome to the show. Can you tell everyone listening a little about who you are and what you do?
So my name is Alberto Prado. I lead digital and partnerships for Unilever R&D. And my background is in, software innovation and then later artificial intelligence. So I worked a long time ago for a company called Symbian Software. That was the operating system for the early smartphones, for the ones in your audience that are old enough to remember. Was acquired by Nokia, spent a couple of years at Nokia. And then after that, I joined Philips in the consumer technology space. And then Philips became a health technology company. I was driving the whole digital innovation program and then started up the digital accelerator, engaging with startups, incubating new businesses. And I joined Unilever, by the way, 4.5, now soon to be 5 years ago. And in my role, in my capacity, I lead the digital transformation of Unilever's R&D organization, which is about 5,000 people globally, and trying to, make the most and leverage in the best possible way new technologies, make sure that we manage and exploit data in appropriate ways, and make sure that we manage this change and transformation that most companies are going through in the best possible way for Unilever.
And you mentioned the Symba operating system there. I remember it clearly. I made the choice of a Nokia N95 and then the iPhone came out, and maybe I chose the wrong handset at the time, but it was a great phone. I got great memories of that. But
yeah, indeed.
And fast forward to present day, Unilever has been using AI in R&D for over a decade now, before it was cool over the last 3 years. But can you start by sharing how that journey began for you and ultimately where it's taken you to now too?
Yeah. Absolutely, Neil. So I think, as you said, I think AI has become a bit of, people think is 2-3-year-old technology, actually goes way, way, way back. And I think for us, it started, over a decade ago, and it started with data. I think the ability for us to be able to capture experimental data, ingredient, recipe, process data in the right way allowed us to start and not just only manage our operations digitally, but also leverage artificial intelligence to be able to derive new insights and new discoveries from the data that we had access to. So it started off initially machine learning, formulation design and optimization, trying to make sure that our formulations become better, more effective, if you like, replacing ingredients without affecting the formulation or the performance of it, if you like. And then most recently, the ability for us to leverage generative AI, also virtual molecular simulations as well, to be able to generate synthetic data to contribute to the body of data that we need, and then develop data models that can help democratize all of these. And we're looking into the future with excitement as well. So I think AI is one of these things that continues to evolve. And I think our responsibility, if you like, or my responsibility and my team is to understand when the technology is ready to be applied, how much value can we really extract from the technology to help us advance and progress discovery ambitions and help our products become more desirable and more affordable, more performant, and generally speaking, better innovations.
100%. And if we were to go back beyond the 3 years since generative AI landed, everybody listening would have had some kind of a relationship with AI, whether it be Amazon personalized feed or Netflix, Spotify. So many different examples about how AI has been in our lives for so much longer than many realize. But at Unilever, you've got over 400 AI applications across the business. So what are some of the standout use cases where AI is directly driving product superiority? What are you seeing here?
Yeah, absolutely. So as you said, we are pretty much scaling AI applications fast because we see a lot of value in doing this. I mean, at the same time, we're not doing AI for the sake of doing AI. We're trying to be as selective. We're trying to tackle areas where we can really progress and drive return on investment. But if you look at how we are deploying AI to enable superiority of our products, I mean, and if you go back to sort of the R&D discovery aspect of it, whether it's advances in microbiome, for example, or biotechnology, or new materials discovery, these are all areas where it's a huge amount of data, large-scale data, as we call it, where the only possible way to really drive new insight generation fast, at speed, from that amount of data is by combining it with high-performance computing and the ability for you to leverage artificial intelligence. And good use cases, good examples is, as an example, the replacing fossil fuel derived surfactants. I mean, people know or may not know that surfactants are in a lot of hygiene products because they're very good at getting rid of dirt. But there also can be not very sustainable, right? So we try to replace fossil fuel derived materials and surfactants with ones that come from biosources. Or we try to look at the microbiome and say, look, how can we leverage AI to drive, I guess, benefits that are enabled by our understanding of how the microbiome works. So there's an immense amount of opportunity, if you like, and this has come, in the last maybe 3-4 years, to drive scientific discovery at scale and speed by using and deploying artificial intelligence in smart ways. And that doesn't mean that, or I should say, it really requires that the human intelligence factor to be present as well. So the way that allows us to use AI as a great scientific tool is enabled by the understanding and deep subject matter expertise that we have in biology and chemistry. So it needs to go hand in hand, human expertise and artificial intelligence, if well combined, can actually unlock a huge potential when it comes to discovery.
And one of the things I try and do on this podcast every day is get people thinking bigger and understanding how technology is impacting every aspect of their life. And the phrase I keep hearing at the moment is AI everywhere. So if we take something like human microbiome that you mentioned there, can you tell me a little bit more about how AI has maybe helped uncover new insights and how those findings are influencing your consumer products? I think this, from what I was reading before you came on the podcast, I think Dove and Pond's, for example, but anything you can share around that?
Yeah, absolutely. So the microbiome is really a very exciting thing. I mean, I don't know how many people know about the microbiome, but we're talking about trillions of microbe cells that are on your skin and in your gut. So over the last 20, 25 years, we've been able to to, I guess, capture 30 terabytes of microbiome data, which is huge. 30,000 samples. We've got 100 patents on it. And it is really important to gain a deep understanding of how the microbiome works, because what I was saying earlier, if we understand the microbiome, we can really unlock the power of it for your benefit as a consumer. And we'll have different unique microbiomes. So the only way to really deep dive in 30 terabytes of data and don't spend decades looking at it is by leveraging artificial intelligence, helping us understand how the microbiome interacts with the environment, right? And then build computational models that can help us predict how the microbiome may react to the biochemical processes on your skin, how it may react when stimulated in different ways. Take a look at, and I guess the benefits are dry skin or dandruff or acne. These are all the result of a combination of contextual environment, if you like, the microbiome and genetics. So the better we understand how all these things interrelate with each other, the better position we are to actually create innovations that can help really deliver tangible benefits in those particular spaces. So yeah, I mean, all that inside all those discoveries, they go into a whole range of skincare products, even home care products as well. And we can certainly mention a few of those because they're really, really exciting technologies.
I was going to say, one of the things that caught my eye was this microbiome analyzer. So tell me about how that technology enables you to personalize skincare, and how close are we to this technology becoming mainstream or mainstream in the products that we see on the shelves?
Yeah, no, that's a really exciting technology. So it's the Pond's Skin Institute. So we basically launched a microbiome analyzer, which at the point of sale, you can apply it. And within 60 minutes or so, it can give you a whole lot of information about your individual microbiome and then a recommendation for a skincare regime that is just specific to you because of the microbiome profile that you have. And that's pretty breakthrough, because what happens today is that most of the creams and most of the products that you see in the shop, they're fairly generic. Obviously, they have certain benefits, but you need to more or less figure out whether they're good or bad for you. There are some recommendation engines out there, but this is really scientific based, and it's based on the spot, real-time insights on your microbiome, and then obviously the recommended products that you need to apply in order to be able to address whatever condition you want to address.
And in biotechnology, you've developed enzymes faster and more sustainably thanks to AI. So what does this actually mean for the future of everyday items? I don't know, from dishwashing liquids and to even detergents, because this is the kind of the space that we don't automatically associate with technology. So I'd love to hear more about that.
No, absolutely. So biotechnology is one of our, as I said earlier, one of our key areas. If you think about what it means and biotechnology. So this is the use of biology to develop ingredients and products through modifying living organisms for specific purposes. So you're trying to turn nature into a tool to address specific problems. Now, the combination of our deep scientific expertise in biology together with AI, the way that we use AI in this particular space is to maybe replace ingredient with more cost-efficient alternatives or more sustainable alternatives. And you mentioned enzymes, and that's a really, really fascinating one, because we're basically replacing fossil fuel surfactants that come from petrochemical sources with enzymes that are natural. And we have a number of partnerships. One of them is with Arzeda to develop enzymes that have an increased level of stability, performance, and sustainability benefits. And that's really amazing, because then once you get there, then you can deploy that technology across all of your home care products. And that's not the only one. So we launched a year or two ago a rhamnolipid or rhamnoclean technology. Again, rhamnolipids are biosurfactants as well. They come from the main ingredient of rhamnolipids is sugar. It follows a fermentation process, and you get to rhamnolipids that are incredibly effective at cleaning as well, completely natural, biosourced, and that allows us to start replacing some of the ingredients in our formulations to make our products more performant, high level of performance, but at the same time biodegradable and sustainable. So it's all good stuff, if you like, for people and planet.
And again, if we have a look behind the curtain, behind all those things, those products that fill our homes, how are you using digital testing and modelling to create products that people will be aware of, like Wonder Wash, without the need for thousands of physical prototypes? Anything you can share around that?
Yeah, absolutely. So we're really scaling our ability to be able to test virtually, because at the end of the day, the more activity you move from the physical world into the digital space, you're able to, at a very low incremental cost, if you like, you're able to plan, optimize, simulate without any friction. You're not bound to the economics of the physical world. So a big part of our digital transformation is exactly that. How much should we or could we do digitally that we don't have to do in the physical space? Also, because it gives you a speed advantage as well. So when it comes to testing, we try to leverage virtual engines and virtual simulations as much as we can. We use predictive models so that we don't have to test, because we can predict how a certain formulation and compounds may react, or the reaction pathways, or whether or not they may biodegrade. So there's a lot of less testing needed. And the testing, when it needs to happen, a lot of it happens in the virtual space. Now, having said that, we also test in the physical space, because once we have a formulation already spec'd out, if you like, we have to, for regulatory reasons, you have to test in the physical space. And we use, you may have heard, we have a really cool center in Liverpool called the Materials Innovation Factory, MIF, we call it internally, which is a partnership with the University of Liverpool. If you go there into this building, you see a lot of robots, AI-assisted robotic arms. In this case, if we talk about home care, testing the formulations, making sure that the stains are removed, that the fragrances are unlocked. And these are high throughput robots. So they're working 24/7. They're there to validate the formulations that we are designing with the help of AI, but they're also there to generate the data that we need to create the virtual simulations and fine-tune our AI models as well. So there you have a really exciting situation where physical and digital are working together, right, to progress and accelerate the rate at which we can innovate and make breakthrough discoveries.
And when doing my research before our conversation today, I found myself getting incredibly intrigued by discovering the R&D assistant, which is powered by generative AI. So tell me more about that, and how is that tool changing how scientists work in accelerating product development?
Yeah, absolutely. So the R&D assistant, we launched it internally about over a year ago. There was in partnership with one of our strategic partners, Microsoft. And you could look at it as a custom co-pilot. So it allows us to, I guess our situation was we have 150,000 scientific documents that basically represent about 100 years of formulation history. So all our activities, all our scientific activities were recorded in document and documented from since 100 years. So you can imagine that the early documents were almost manuscripts, and we had to digitize them. And then basically what we did is we implemented a RAG system that can help us, I guess, query or prompt all our accumulated knowledge history in natural language, and then get back the results, the answers to what we're looking for. So that basically unlocked a massive body of knowledge. Things that we didn't know we had now became available in natural language for all our scientists to leverage, right? So as a knowledge management tool, it basically allowed us to do what we call literature-based discovery and start our discovery journey from the basis of what we know, what the company knows, because we have access, super fast access to all that body of knowledge. Now, for the ones that know about generative AI and where that's going now, this is interesting because it allows you to extract and summarize data. But obviously, that's not the end of it. We are continuing to invest and make inroads into recommendations, into reasoning, into workflow orchestration through agents. So the R&D assistant will at some point become the R&D expert, if you like, as the value of the functionality and the utility of it continues to grow. And we continue to leverage it for more and more value. And we believe that in addition to everything that's going on, will make the lives of our scientists and all our R&D people, by the way, much more fun. It's bringing back the joy of doing R&D, if you like, by being able to maybe automate repetitive tasks and liberate the human capacity and the human talent to focus on really truly creative part of innovation.
And if we were to dare to look further into the future, how do you see AI shaping the next 10 years of product innovation at Unilever? And I realise as I say that out loud, it's an impossible question considering in the last 5 years we've seen working home at scale, hybrid working, AI. So 10 years is probably too far ahead to look. But how do you see that changing? And what advice would you offer to companies listening that are trying to embed AI into their R&D now?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Look, as you said, who knows where, not even the the next 5 years, where we will be, but at the pace at which things are developing. But if you look from where we stand today, certainly, further deploying across the organization, things like generative AI, piloting agentic frameworks or agentic AI that can help us get to higher levels of automation and reasoning. And then later on in the scientific space, certainly quantum algorithms, I think that's something that we are looking at engaging with high interest because it can really give another step function change in our ability to get to scientific breakthroughs bigger and more often, right? So now you cannot really leverage much of all of these without having your data in good place. And I think the challenge with large companies, not necessarily the small ones, but with large companies is the ability for us to manage all the data in an effective way, because it requires a strong culture, right? A culture that appreciates the value of data and therefore is willing to invest time and effort to treat it as first-class citizens in our AI world. And we're going now into a territory which takes us away a little bit from the technology itself and takes us to and focuses on human beings and organizations and how fast can organizations change in order to be able to fully leverage the power of artificial intelligence. So to a certain extent, what we see when we look around in our industry and even beyond is that one of the key bottlenecks of moving fast and getting to high levels of innovation is not necessarily on the maturity of the technology itself, AI, but rather in the ability for organizations to actually learn how to take most advantage of it and change the ways of working internally to be able to do that.
I think there's also a real pressure on everybody and everyone listening to be in a state of continuous learning. So on a personal level, as someone that is helping lead the way here, I've got to ask, where or how do you self-educate? How do you keep up to speed with the pace of change? Any tips or advice there?
Yeah, so it's really challenging because there's so much stuff happening that I've really changed my habits in terms of where do I get information from. And you have to be a bit selective. You have to get rid of some of the noise and paranoia around all of these things. So I do listen a lot to podcasts. I mean, I do follow Lex Fridman for more sort of generic technologies and beyond politics and geopolitics and other things that are of interest. But he tends to go really deep into some of these topics. So that's always good. I follow for deep, more technical AI, Nathan Lambert's blog, Interconnect. I think that I find that very, very useful. And then if you really like high velocity stuff, there's a number of AI daily podcasts in Spotify that are really useful. But then you do fall a bit into the trap of every day consuming a lot of things and therefore more difficult to make sense of all of it. So you have to keep cool and some level of distance as well in order to be able to understand what direction you should take.
Fantastic advice. And thank you so much for sitting down and sharing me the story and how Unilever is using technology. But before I let you go, for anyone listening that just wants to find out more information about anything we talked about today, or just keep up to speed with developments at Unilever and how you're using technology, is there any way you'd point them?
Our corporate website, unilever.com, is a really good place to see the latest. Also in digital AI, in R&D, we tend to publish with high frequency. And then on a personal level, I tend to also post in LinkedIn quite frequently as well. And and then face-to-face events as well. So I'll be talking, for example, at the London AI Summit on the 11th and 12th of June. And that's always a good place to shake hands and have a proper face-to-face conversation as well.
Awesome. Well, I'll add links to everything there, make it easy for people to find you. And also, I go to the US a lot for tech conferences and Europe, etc. So hopefully we could meet in person and meet face to face. But more than anything, just thank you for coming on here, talking about how Unilever is using AI across three key areas: microbiome, biotechnology, next generation materials. So much food for thought. And I hope it's got people thinking differently about how technology is impacting every aspect of our world. And largely for the good, too. It's something we don't shout about enough. But thank you for sharing that with me today.
Thank you very much, Neil. It's been a pleasure.
I think what stood out to me in this conversation with Alberto was how AI isn't just operating in isolation. It's actually woven through the fabric of Unilever's R&D efforts. I think what we have here is almost a blueprint for how traditional industries can modernise from within. And the work at Unilever is showing that innovation doesn't have to be confined to new markets or flashy apps. It can literally happen inside a laundry room, a skincare routine, or a kitchen cupboard. Places where smart science, AI and sustainability are already converging to reshape our everyday experiences. So what can other legacy industries learn from Unilever's approach to digital transformation at scale? Love to hear your thoughts on this one. Techblogwriter@outlook.com, LinkedIn, X, Instagram, just at Neil C. Hughes. So thank you for listening as always. I'll be back again very soon with another guest. Hopefully I will get to speak with you all again then. Thanks for your time today. Speak with you soon. Bye for now.